Oh, it can stay there. It can stay there. Oh, just breathe. Oh, get the dust out. Oh, right. Oh, it's all very well the Queen going away. Just fix the generator. All you gotta do is keep the generator going. How do I do that? I was on the other side of the compound, and the lights went out, and it's pitch black outside. There's a sandstorm overhead. What am I meant to do? Okay, all right. Spanner. What am I meant to do with this? I just... Tough. Work! Just work, please! Yes! Sometimes, you just gotta bodily threaten harm on something. Oh, thank you. Just thank you. I mean, I only had one battery left for my torch anyway. Oh, she's only gone and left her crown? The Queen left her crown. I mean, does that mean she doesn't want to be Queen anymore? But that means that I could be... Yep. I am the Queen of the Wasteland. Cut me some steaks, I don't care what kind. Clean the leech tanks. I will gobble it up as a marinade. Oh. Fear me, for I have the power of fire. I don't want the power of fire. Oh, it's gone out. Good. I decree that all of the meat choppers are now free and may do what they want and have candy floss and have a party and have a great time, and I am the Queen of the Wasteland.
Yeah, hold this. That's better.
I know your face.
Careful. You should know my face. Do you not recognize your queen?
You can't be Queen, I'm Queen. I've got the crown and everything.
Oh, that's nice. I'm really glad you got a go at it. But truth be told, I've moved past such hierarchical titles as Queen, Ruler, Emperor of all I survey. Now, I'm just an individual trying to lead their best life.
What's all this? What's that? What's that?
This is the green. The green that we heard reports of. The green that I went out to discover on my great expedition.
But all green glows. The glowing stuff is bad. It makes mutants. You're a mutant.
No. I'm not a mutant. I have merely changed. I have discovered myself.
That's what a mutant would say.
Oh, but surely, I went out on that great expedition and I found more than just green that does not glow. I found another way to live. Do you remember? Before the world was a dust bowl? Do you remember how the air was clear? No dust.
In the long, long ago.
Do you remember?
I remember, but...
Let me show you. I brought back an artifact.
They're like stones.
These are like living stones.
Ugh.
They are called seeds.
Siebes.
And what you do, right, is you get a sieve,
Yeah.
and you use your shovel, you make a little hole in the dust ground,
Yeah.
and then you take a sieve and put a sieve in the hole in the dust ground, and then the rain falls, and then the sieve grows into something called a plant.
A plant.
A plant.
So we take the sieve.
Take the sieve.
And we put it in the nuclear ground, and the mercury rain comes down, and it makes a plant, and then the plant does
The
what?
plant is the green. The plant is the green that we heard the reports of. The plant grows, and it makes the air clean.
Oh, we need plants.
We need plants.
We need all the plants.
And I brought back so many sieves. So many sieves. We can grow so many plants. We can have clean air again.
We can make the wasteland new, like it was in the long ago, the before time.
Exactly. And you see, I even have a little travel green with me. I have this and a breather, and I can travel as far as I want with clean, fresh air. And look, there's even some froggies.
That sounds like a brilliant thing. We should do that.
Definitely.
Because you've been gone so long, I have been ever so lonely.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You left me completely stuck at home. So, because I've been stuck at home, I think it would be only right and proper, now that you're back, if you spun me a yarn the likes of which I've never heard before.
I could do, but wouldn't you rather I weaved you a tapestry the likes of which you've never heard before?
I think considering compromise is now at the forefront of our discussion.
Quite right, compromise.
You should lead me on a merry dance the likes of which I've never danced before.
What a wonderful compromise. I think we can do just that.
Yes, let's do it, let's go!
Here we go. Hello! Now it's time for today's story. This story comes from before the before times, from the long ago, before the world was a red dust ball, and before you found piles of glowing uranium scattered everywhere. This story comes from a time when people still divided up the land into countries, using lines on maps and peculiar rectangles of material that people called flags. Now, these flags were covered in all kinds of colours and symbols that everyone thought was very important. This story comes from a country called Japan. It's about an old man called Ido and an old woman called Kimiko. They had been married for a very long time and were very much in love. In fact, the year this story was set in was to be their 50th year together, and Kimiko was determined to cook her famous sweet rice cakes to celebrate. Delicious! Ido really enjoyed them. Unfortunately, their stores had run a little low on rice. Ido would usually craft all kinds of things from the local flora and fauna, but the winter had been harsh, and the spring had not yet allowed the things to grow that he would usually craft from, and so he didn't have anything to trade for rice. But Kimiko decided gallantly that it was okay for Ido to take her wedding kimono into town to trade with. "Surely not," said Ido. "I can't trade your wedding kimono." But Kimiko gave her husband a smile and said, "Oh, husband, I have more important things to remember our wedding day by," and gave her husband a cheeky little smile. Ido fell in love all over again. How could he refuse his wife anything when she smiled like that? She was such a kind person. And so, Ido took Kimiko's wedding kimono and set off into town. Kimiko and Ido lived on the side of a mountain that was surrounded by cherry trees that blossomed pink in the spring. So he would take the mountain trail down into town. As he was making his way down, he noticed 4 statues by the side of the road. Now, these statues in Japan are where spirits live, and people would offer the statues all sorts of things to try and gain their favour, for good luck on their travels. But Ido noticed that these statues hadn't been tended to in a very long time, and he thought he should do something to rectify this. And so he set about working. He brushed the dead leaves from their shoulders and from all the nooks and crannies. He pulled off the vines that were threatening to overthrow them, and he wiped away the mud that had splashed up during the storms. And then he took a step back to look at his work and thought to himself, yes, I promise that on my way back, I will give them a gift. In fact, Kimiko makes the best rice cakes, that when I have come back with my rice, I will bring a rice cake for each of the statues, just to say thank you, and just to show them that I appreciate them. And with that decided, Ido set off into town to trade away the kimono. Ido continued down the mountain trail, and as he did so, he came to a small bridge that went over a small river just around the outskirts of the town. He came up to the bridge, and as he did, he saw a young man that looked more than a little upset. He approached the young man and asked him, "What's wrong? Why are you so upset?"
Well, you see, I've been trying to sell these beautiful fans. I need to sell the fans so that I can save money for a wedding kimono for my betrothed, and we can be married, but no one will buy them.
Ido looked at the young man. He reminded him so much of himself from when he was that age, and he took pity on the man. "I tell you what, I have here my wife's wedding kimono. It might not be the finest garment, but it is beautiful. And I'm sure your wife will look beautiful in it on your wedding day. Why don't we swap? I'm sure someone will want to buy those beautiful fans. I'm sure I can get a pretty penny for these. And you have a wonderful wedding day."
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I don't know what to say. This certainly is a beautiful kimono, and I promise you that on our wedding day, we will think ever so fondly of you. Thank you.
Now the young man made his way home merrily then, and Ido continued off into the market town. He had spent so long cleaning up those statues that the sun had already reached past noon and was starting to head downwards. It was getting late into the afternoon. But he made his way into the market town, and when he got there, on the outskirts, he saw another gentleman, an older gentleman this time, who was looking more than a little bit upset. And he went to the old gentleman and asked him, "What's wrong? Why are you so distraught?"
Well, I dragged these old bones down to the seashore and I collected this here shell. So pretty I thought it was, I thought I could maybe get some coin for it. But no one will spare me any mind, not at my age. And I just can't sell it.
Ido looked at the old man, and he thought of himself at that age, and how he would want people to be kind to him as well. So he turned to the old man and said, "I tell you what, I have here a beautiful fan made by a wonderful woman. Why don't we swap? I'm sure I can get someone to pay attention to me, and I can sell this shell for a pretty penny. And why don't you take these fans? I'm sure you'll have a much better time selling them than this shell."
Well, thank you so much. That's ever so kind of you. Yes, it really is a beautiful fan, and maybe some kindly passerby will pay an old man some attention and buy this fan so that I might have some coin for my purse. You really are a very, very kind person. I will think of you fondly for all of my days.
And Ido bid the old man farewell and good luck. And Ido carried on into the market town. Now Ido had spent quite a lot of time greeting people, cleaning up those statues and helping out people he met along the way, that the sun was definitely starting to head downwards now. It wasn't quite evening time, but the market stalls had all started to close up and people were starting to leave. He looked at his shell and thought, I'm sure someone will want to buy it. And I'm sure I can buy a lot of rice for whatever I manage to sell it for. It was then that he looked up and saw an urchin stood a little ways away, looking more than a little upset. He was obviously quite distraught. and Ido took pity on him, went up to him and asked, "Oh, what's the matter, young man? Why are you so upset?"
Well now, I've been trying to sell these flowers that I picked. I thought maybe someone would spare some money so that I can buy some food if I showed them the kindness of giving them a flower in return, but no one's interested. No one will give me any charity, not even for a flower.
Now Ido looked at the urchin, and he took pity on him. "I tell you what, why don't we swap? I have here a beautiful shell gathered from the shore. I'm sure someone will pay a pretty penny for it. And why don't I take your bouquets of flowers? I can sell them."
It's that it really is a very beautiful shell, and if you're sure you wouldn't mind. Now, yes, I really think I might get some money for this, and maybe I can eat today. Oh, kind sir, I will really remember you for the rest of my days. I really will. You've done me a great kindness. Thank you.
Ido bid the urchin good luck and farewell. It really was getting on today. Ido had spent a lot of time talking to people and not a lot of time selling things. It was starting to get dark, and so, with all the market stalls shut up and all the people at home for the day, Ido reluctantly set off back home up that mountain trail. He thought about what he would say to his wife. He thought about going home without any coin or any rice. And it was at that point that he saw the spirit statues that he'd met on the way down. And he remembered his promise. He looked at each of the statues in turn and said, "I know I said I would bring you a rice cake each. I'm afraid I'm going to have to break my promise. All I have today are these flowers. Perhaps they'll bring you some joy instead." And he lay one in each crook of the arm of the spirit statues. And he gave them a deferential bow and bid them good night and headed off back to home to his wife. Kimiko was a little concerned to see Ido arrive home with neither coin nor rice. "Well, what will I make rice cakes out of?" she said. But Ido recounted the tale of what had happened that day, of the people he'd met and the people he'd helped. And Kimiko could not help but love him even more for the kindness that he'd shown. They might have gone to bed a little bit hungry that night, but they went to bed just as in love with each other as ever, and comfortable in each other's company. That night, Kimiko and Ido were woken by a loud noise. Kimiko thought that it was bandits, but Ido reasoned that that noise was too loud for bandits to make. Cautiously and carefully, they crept to their window and peered outside. The sight that met their eyes was a wondrous sight. It was the 4 spirits of the stone statues that Ido had met earlier that day. They were both struck dumb. They had believed in spirits of the land, of course, but they had never seen one before. And there were 4, stood silently and solemnly in front of their door. Each of them held a flower bouquet in the crook of their arm. One of them stepped forward gently and placed a bag of something on their doorstep, and then silently and slowly they disappeared into the night. After a moment, Kimiko and Ido crept down to their front door. They opened it carefully, and looking around, picked up the bag and brought it inside. They put it on their table and opened it up, and inside they found rice. More rice than they could have ever hoped for. More rice than Ido would have gotten for the wedding kimono for sure. They would have rice cakes tomorrow. They went back to bed and slept soundly and safely. The next day, Kimiko made her sweet rice cakes. She even made extra for the stone statues, and Ido took them down to the statues just as promised. But that was not the end of the story. Ido may have fulfilled his promise just as he said he would, but the statues had more gifts in store for Ido and Kimiko. The old couple realized that as they ate through the rice, No matter how much they had eaten that day, the next morning the bag was full again. They would never run out of rice, the final gift of the spirits from the stone statues. For Kimiko's generosity, for Ido's kindness, and for the humility of them both, neither of them would ever go hungry ever again.
The Queen of the Wasteland was much pleased with that story.
Oh, I'm so glad. I really enjoyed it as well.
Do you know what I really liked?
What did you like?
What were they called? The grey people, the statues made of stone.
Statues, yeah.
The spirit statues, because it reminded me of, when Bob and Linda went out into the Dust Bowl wasteland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Bob and Linda.
And there was that sandstorm, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of, all the sand covered them and set really, really, really hard, like glass.
Yeah, it's just somehow the way the dust and the mercury kind of mixed together and it all just kind of...
And Linda's like this, and Bob's like this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the face is
yeah.
pulling. And we're so close to the faces pulling. That's funny.
Exactly. The statues reminded me of Bob and Linda, and they're such nice people. You know, I saw Bob blink the other day.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, I was giving him his little bit of water, because
Aw.
he's stuck in that sand. He can't get out. So I gave him his little bit of water,
Yeah.
and he blinked at me, and it was like he was saying, "Just try the sledgehammer one more time." Do you remember we tried the sledgehammer?
Oh, yeah. And he
Yeah.
just bounced off.
Just bounced off,
Oh,
just nothing, absolutely nothing.
Oh, that's really nice. I'm so glad you still visit them.
Oh yeah, of course they're good friends, and now they're permanent friends.
Exactly. Very good listeners, I should imagine.
Yeah, very good, yeah, although I've never been much of a talker, really.
You could have fooled me. No, what I really liked about the story was the kindness and the generosity, much like your kindness and generosity going and visiting Bob and Linda. I think that's really something I've taken to heart from my great expedition out towards to see the green. I mean, I don't like to think of it as an expedition these days, and more of a journey, like a journey both externally and internally. I really missed these stories while I was out on my journey. And you know what? I have noticed you are a really, really good storyteller.
Aww.
And you were so excited about the seeds before that I thought maybe you could be the one to plant our first seed in the nuclear ground.
What?
I like that.
Me?
Yeah.
Make the first plant?
Well, you've done such a good job with the nuclear generator and you've kept all of this going, and now it's even your turn to be queen. I thought, why not?
I'll get to make a real plant, because, these are just plastic,
Whoa, yeah, they're not much good for cleaning the air at all.
Although they do grow every week. But yeah, so I get to make a plant from the seeds in the nuclear ground with the mercury rain, and nothing can go wrong.
Absolutely nothing.
Do you reckon I could eat one now?
Oh, well, I didn't give that a go, but maybe you could. But then, what if you ate the seed and the seed grew inside of your stomach? Maybe you shouldn't eat one.
I don't want a seed growing in my stomach. I don't think plants would fit out of my mouth. I'll put that away.
It's a good idea.
Let's go dig a hole.
What a great idea.
Come on. I mean, we put the seed in the ground and nothing happened.
That's all I know how to do. I mean, you make the hole in the dust ground, and then you put the seed in, and we cover it up again. That's an important bit.
We
But
did
then
that.
The mercury rain. We haven't waited for the rain.
We've got to wait for the mercury to come out the sky. That only happens like every fortnight, though.
Well, still, we've just got to be patient.
So does that mean we've got to fight off all the mutants while we wait for the plants to grow?
Think of it like this. At least we'll have a lot of steak to eat.
That's very true. That is very true. And I am the Queen of the Wasteland.
Yep.
You know what that means?
What does that mean?
You're chopping the steak, that's what that means.
I've got to chop the steak?
Yeah,
Does that mean I also have to make the marinade out of the leech tank?
yeah.
And I have to clean the dishes afterwards.
Well, you know, if I'm perfectly honest, if I'm talking honestly here, I feel that maybe we could share that responsibility.
Oh, really? Would you?
No.
Oh.
No. No. It's your turn. I am the queen of the wasteland. I have the power of fire, and I demand steak. Finest steaks known to personkind.
Oh, but I've moved on from those kind of hierarchical titles, and anyway, I don't know the best part of the mutant to cut to get the steak out.
Oh, well, you know the wiggly bit that comes out from the tentacle?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bit with the stinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, chop that off.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then grab the end that's still attached to the mutant and swing it round your head, and then all the skin just flies off.
Yeah.
And the inside bit,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's the bit that you want. It's delicious.
That sounds really dangerous.
Just avoid the green wobbly bit.
Will you come with me?
All right, come on then, let's get some mutant steaks.
That was a good batch.
Oh, why have we never drunk the wobbly bit before, Your Majesty?
Well, I think it's a special occasion kind of drink, and this is definitely the most special of occasions, coming back from a great expedition as I did.
Very true. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling very majestic, you might say. How are you feeling, Your Majesty?
Oh, yeah, I'm feeling magisterial, in fact.
Ooh, very good. How does yours taste, Your Majesty?
I'm finding it hard to pin it down. It's I think it must vary from batch to batch. It depends how many we mash together.
Aha!
I think. Yeah.
I think this was a 7 mutant batch, so that might account for the robustness of the flavour.
Yeah.
Very,
I think you're right.
Very nosy. Hi.
Hi.
We've had an absolutely wonderful time making this show today, haven't we, Rob?
Oh, we really have, Penny, haven't we?
We have just the best time making this. We just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone who's donated to us so far. It really means a lot, and it means that we've able to record as many shows as we have done already. But we still need your help. So if you can, please donate anything you have. Seeds, fertilizer, homemade is fine, anything at all. Please go to www.paypal.me/Strange-Twig. Give what you can, and all donations are secure. It means the world to us. Thank you.
Thanks. Shut up! Stop it! I'm the queen!
Well, I think it's nice.